Let's go now to our media panel. Welcome to media commentator Dr. Brian Edwards and listener columnist Bill Ralston. Welcome to you both. Let's begin with how our biggest dairy company made world news in all the wrong ways.
The Chinese government has banned all products.
Authorities in New Zealand said that they will conduct a full investigation.
Global dairy giant Fonterra says it sold contaminated whey protein when concentrated to its customers.
Vietnam, Malaysia among those that may impose a similar ban. Even Sri Lanka may follow suit.
Halting imports on milk powders from Fonterra.
Now, immediately after the news broke, Fonterra boss Theo Sperling flew to China to apologise.
Like I said in China, I do apologise to consumers and to the public of the anxiety and the discomfort this has caused.
Right, let's talk with our PR expert in this area. What is, Bill Ralston, the best practice when you're managing a crisis of this magnitude? Where do you start?
Well, I mean, he's trying to do the right thing by going to China and apologising for a start, except no one believes them. You know, the thing about Fonterra is they've come across consistently over the years, and particularly now, as quite arrogant. And as Wyatt Creech said earlier, they needed transparency. Where's the transparency? This is the most opaque organisation you've ever seen. They've sat on this information for months and they have done nothing about it. Their PR techniques so far have just been appalling. And part of the problem is it's an inwardly focused organisation on its own shareholders, in effect the farmers. It doesn't appear to give a damn about its customer base, except when it's caught out.
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you think that they really grasp the size of, that this was crisis management that needed to, begin?
Well, there was a crisis, but there was no management, really. I think that was part of the problem. Someone once said to me, a PR person said to me, if you haven't got a plan, don't get out of the car. And it's a very good saying. And what you see all through this is a huge company that had no plan. It had no plan a year ago. It had no plan now. And I actually made a little list of all the things that you ought to do in a crisis. And everything that Fonterra had done was the absolute opposite of that. I mean, you cannot have your spokespeople on television not knowing the facts. And that's been a major thing here. Mr. Romano, who appeared on Campbell Live, for example, his facts were all over the place. And his life was made more difficult, if I just add to that, because there was a mother with her child on there who was very anxious and very worried. He didn't have the right information to give her. In fact, he gave her the wrong information.
At no point have Fonterra looked genuinely contrite.
Yes.
You can apologise, but if you don't sound as if you mean it, there's no point.
Well, let's have a little bit of an example of that, because back here, Fonterra Chairman John Wilson was keeping a low profile, and Head of Milk Products Gary Romano was sent out to face the media. Here he is on Campbell Live.
This thing's been fluid during the course of today. I think that's the outcome.
So where we stand at 7:09 tonight, all carry care product.
I think that's the position where we are right now.
I guess that's one of the issues, isn't it? When you use a word and you're talking about contaminated infant formula and you say, I think that's where we're at the moment.
You're talking people's health and you're talking about their safety. And in a food processing business, which basically that's what Fonterra is, communications is absolutely vital. And as I understand from talking to people that have been involved with Fonterra, they have devolved their communications role further and further down the corporate food chain within, so it's not part of the executive anymore.
There's also an issue about apologies here. If you're going to make an apology, you have to make it as quickly as possible. Yep. I mean, this all began more than a year ago.
Yes.
And then when they finally do bring it out, the government knows about it before the population knows about it.
What I found remarkable was in that interview with Campbell Live, Gary Romano said actually all carry care product. Then the next morning on First Line, we had John Key, and he came out, the Prime Minister, with the definitive scenario of what was needed to recall and what could still be consumed, which I thought was remarkable.
Well, you watch. The government are so annoyed with Fonterra on this that they will heavily regulate them if they're not careful. They'll layer the MPI all over that place to try and assure quality. A very lame PR stunt of trying to set up an internal inquiry into what happened. Yeah. You watch this government crank in with a commission of inquiry that has the powers to actually get to the bottom of it.
And you also have an organisation which is not speaking with one voice. You've got different people saying different things, and that's really dangerous. Ideally, I believe, a large company wants to find the best spokesperson. As it happens, I think Spearling is extremely good. I think he handles things very well. He has appears to have high integrity, high believability, but he had this conflict. He had to address an issue in China and he had to address an issue in New Zealand, and he couldn't do both.
Yeah, and I think Fonterra are also going to pay the price of basically being so arrogant as to ignore government. Their contact with government has been relatively small over the years. They don't even have a government relations person, to the best of my knowledge. They rely on their board contacts with ministers to carry them through. You know, they are really in big trouble, Fonterra, and they don't seem to be acknowledging it.
Well, actually, just one more thing. The very chilling Chinese gentleman you had in the program earlier today, yes, he made a very good point. He said you need to learn from your mistakes. This is a company which has not learned from, 3 mistakes.
3 strikes, you're out.
Right, OK, now we are going to go to show you a clip of a group calling itself Labour for Victory. It's posted a video online calling for David Shearer to be sacked as leader.
Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on?
Now it says authorised by rank and file of Labour. Which side are you on is the lyrics they're using there.
Billy Bragg, favourite song of the left.
Authorised by whom?
It just shows you how solid the opposition is within a certain element of Labour to Shearer. And there's a real risk here that he's going to end up like Gillard, heavily destabilised over a period of time.
Hold on, you're assuming that Labour is behind this? Someone in Labour is behind this? Are you assuming that?
Oh, yeah, up on Chris Trotter's blog.
Because National would want to keep Shearer? Is that your, your argument?
National would be quite happy for David Shearer to stay on.
I'll tell you, I would disregard this absolutely and totally, because I have nothing but contempt for people who do things like this anonymously. It's like people on blogs, all the commenters on blogs are anonymous. Gutless people they are, so I would disregard it.
Really?
Well, you know, that
I mean, how much cut through does it have? I mean, who's viewing it and who's seeing it?
Well, if you believe that already, you'll still believe it.
The other day.
It's not going to make any difference to what you believe.
Yeah. Now, there were a couple of thousand hits on YouTube already, and I think it's growing quite rapidly. Quite professionally done, quite slickly done.
Yes,
it could show quite an organised lobby group out there. Sack Shearer this spring. So that's coming up, the party conference coming up. You know, it's going to be blood on the floor.
And in all of this, John Key at the moment is talking about the flag. I'm thinking with Fonterra going on at the moment, there's some big stories out there.
Well, actually, everything John Key is doing at the moment is designed towards the election. It's all to get popularity and gain votes, and I think this would be a good example, actually. I think that would be a very popular thing to suggest. I'm for it myself, actually.
Well, there's a bit, I mean, yeah, look, it's one of the old Hardy annual arguments, isn't it? If you're doing talkback radio, if you're doing talkback radio, suggest a change to the flag, and then everyone comes out with their own ideas. It could be a bit of a distraction from Fonterra. He could be trying it that
come
way.
on, really?
Well, there we go, the conspiracy theories. Brian Edwards and Bill Ralston, thank you both for your time this morning.